Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
What is going on, good people? Welcome to another episode of the Man Cave Podcast, brought to you by our good friends from Hy-Vee and Toyson Ford. It's a baseball preview edition of the podcast, even though Padres and Dodgers have already began the season. We got opening day coming up in a few days, depending on when you're listening to this episode of the podcast. So this is the only time I get to talk to Brandon beforehand. So it's a time to do a baseball preview episode. This was a Brandon idea, so he finally came with an idea that we're actually doing. Besides, I guess, though, credit to you, you did have the top 5 Bears that ended up being top 10.
That is still one of my all-time favorite top 5.
And we missed a lot after.
And we did. After the fact, we definitely had Bearers remorse.
Yeah.
I tried.
You tried. So, all right. So, I mean, should we just jump into picks, or
we do? But did you make your baseball picks in general too?
Well, yeah, you told me.
Okay, good. No, I just wanted to be sure.
Okay, I was like, you told me.
No, I did. Okay, because I sent you the screenshot of all the questions, and all you mentioned was Brewers. I just wanted to make sure because I've got that too. So.
Well, you sent me the script, so I mean, I read whatever's on the teleprompter.
Okay.
In this case, the phone.
You are on Burgundy. I will be Brick Tamlin.
Okay. All right.
I love Lamp.
Rick killed a guy with a trident. Oh, classic. All right, show. We had Shohei Ohtani on our. What does that mean? Ooh, conspiracy. Should we just do predictions first?
Yeah.
All across, the Major League Baseball
Let's
predictions?
do the big ones, yeah.
So we'll go in the order that you sent it to me, just to make it fair for everybody out there. Right? Fair, easier for us, I guess. AL East.
I got the Orioles.
Yeah.
Young, they fortify the rotation, obviously, getting Corbin Burns. They still had some other injuries here since they made the Corbin Burns trade, but I still think they're the best team. They're an ascending young team. I'm
going to go Baltimore, too. I'll save it because I think the team that finishes second is a wild card.
Okay.
Wild card team on here. So, but yeah, Baltimore, Corbin Burns on there completely changes everything. Now, is Holiday going to be on the opening day roster?
I don't know, but if he's not, it's not going to be too long before he's up.
Okay.
So.
All right. We both got Baltimore for AL East. Before we get to AL East, is that the most competitive division in baseball, do you think? When you got Yankees, Baltimore,
I could see that.
Tampa is on there.
Yeah, especially top end with good teams.
Mm-hmm.
Because certainly you can make the case for the NL Central being competitive.
Right.
But obviously they don't have the top
top heavy.
It's not top heavy the East.
Well, even Blue Jays in there too.
Yeah.
Mix them in there. I just don't know Boston. I don't really know what to expect from Boston at this point. So, yeah, I think it's and I would throw maybe top heavy for this too, but maybe for the NL East you got
you got some heavy hitters up top with the Braves and the Phillies.
Yep, exactly. And Miami was kind of sneaky a little bit, but I don't know. And then the Mets maybe a year or two off yet.
I think for David Stearns, 2025 is the year. Mm-hmm. You can kind of see some of their moves they made. And I know some Mets fans weren't happy about it. It was really more treading water.
Right.
Kind of let's be competitive, but we're not gonna push our chips in quite yet.
Right. All right. So let's go to the the AL Central. Now, is this kind of a easy one? Do you think?
I guess maybe I went Cleveland.
Oh,
I went Cleveland. Oh, maybe not then. I went Cleveland.
Okay.
Stephen
Vogt with new manager over
I believe
there?
it's Stephen Vogt.
Okay.
Go the Grudians.
Get out the vote. Stephen Vogt.
Rock the vote.
Okay. Why the Guardians? And
I still like their top end talent.
Okay.
I still think very highly of Jose Ramirez. I think they're last year wasn't quite where they wanted to be, obviously, but I think is this, I don't say the worst division, but
I think it is.
But
I mean, look at the last couple of years.
Yeah, I still like some of their pitchers. Shane Bieber getting back from injury, Tristan McKenzie. I just think they have enough of the pieces comparative to the rest of the division.
Okay. All right. That was honestly, that was a little bit of a surprise. for me over there because I'm going with the Twins
Mhm.
over there. But I agree with you. I think it's going to be something similar to the last couple of years where, whoever wins this division, I wouldn't necessarily see them as a World Series contender, if that makes sense. Is it fair to say the Tigers, though, could be a team, maybe a sneaky team to kind of watch? I saw some predictions the other day. I think it was even MLB.com when I was looking at it earlier this morning. They have the Tigers winning the division. One of their writers has the Tigers winning the division.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think for them it's young talent, but also like getting something from the veterans they have. I mean, the Javi Baez deal so far has just been awful for them. Like, there's no way about it. But they raised the floor. They got Mark Canha. They brought in Gio Urshela, who was someone I was kind of hoping the Brewers might take a look at because I think he's kind of a high floor guy. They've got some younger guys with Parker Meadows, Riley Green. Looking to Spencer Torkelson's the former #1 pick. Like, I could see a world where it clicks for them.
Okay. All right. So, should we go to the AL West?
Let's do it.
So that's the division. No Shohei in there anymore. So maybe this is finally the year the Angels make the postseason. But obviously, defending World Series champs, Texas Rangers are in there too. Who do you got though?
I'm gonna go with the Astros.
Yeah.
I just think that they're tough to bet against. Like at this point, and even though I remember they won the division last year.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Houston.
I'm gonna go Houston as well. I'm gonna go Houston. I do think it'll be between them and Texas. Now, last year did you have Seattle making the postseason in your picks last year, or was that 2 years ago with the Mariners?
It was 2 years. I think I picked them the year they made it, so I think that was 2 years ago.
Okay.
I think I might have last year too.
Okay. Are they a team that could potentially compete for a playoff spot? You think
I think so.
This year?
I think so.
All right. So, but we both got Houston.
We both got Houston.
And wild card.
My wild cards, I am going to go with #1, the Rays. At this point,
there.
I can't not have the Rays in the postseason somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they traded Tyler Glass now, even though they made some moves, like Tampa is better than any team in the league and just figuring it out.
Yeah. Yep.
I went with the Rangers.
Okay.
I think they're still in it. They're still a good team. And I went with the Mariners.
Oh, okay. There's a team that you left out.
There is.
I've got them in there, the Yankees,
Mhm.
as a wild card team. So I went with the Yankees. I went with the Rangers as well as my other wild card team. And this might be my weird one, but I'm going Blue Jays.
I can see it. Like, that's not. I won't say that's weird.
So I don't have the Rays going in this year. So still 2 AL East teams as a wild card, but not high on the Yankees this year. Injuries, Garrett Cole and such.
Injuries, and I don't know. As much as I like the Juan Soto going to Yankee Stadium, I think he's going to absolutely mash there.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't click for me.
I feel like the Yankees, though, too, are going to be that team that's going to make a big-time deal before the trade deadline.
If they're in the hunt, they will take a big swing on someone.
Like pitching or something like that,
yeah.
Whoever's going to be available out there. Okay. So then let's go to the National League. Make our National League picks here. Let's start off with the NL East.
I'm going to go with the Braves.
Yeah.
I still think they're a juggernaut of a team.
Mm-hmm.
They can pitch, they can hit, they play defense. They're just, to me, they're the best team in that division until someone else knocks them off.
Yeah. I'm the same. I'm going with the Braves. I feel like you and I are probably going to have a lot of the same NL picks for division winners potentially here. But yeah, I'm going with the Braves in the NL East as well. And then Central.
In the Central, I'm going with the Reds.
Ooh, okay. Interesting.
I'm going with Cincinnati, even though they've had some injuries to some of their younger guys and some other things go on with some suspensions and stuff. I think that they do just enough, and I think this is I think you could make a case for any of the top 4 teams. I guess even with the Pirates if you want to, but I'm going to go with the Reds, and it's a really close one.
Who's second then, or do you just?
There may be a wild card in there that's second.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go Cardinals. I know, they made some moves in the offseason, bringing in some veteran starters to the mix, but the Cardinals are a team that should always just suck or not be as good, and they always kind of figure it out. So I think the Cardinals squeak it out and win the division this year for the Central. West, do I need to ask?
Want to bet? No, I have Dodgers.
Yeah, Dodgers too. I don't think we need to say anything else after that. What if Ohtani gets suspended? I think.
I didn't put that down as one of my
prop bets.
Prop bets. So
I don't think it'll be this year. If anything,
no, because it would take some time.
Yeah. So, all right. Then wild card, 3 wild card teams.
My 3 wild card teams. I went Phillies.
Yep.
Diamondbacks. Brewers.
Homer. Now,
Brewers are the last team. Yeah, Brewers are the last team in.
Okay. You think the Brewers can get in?
I think they can.
Okay. Is it going to be based off of their hitting this year and not pitching?
I think it's going to be a little bit more of a kind of a by committee. Less stars, more just kind of like they figure it out.
Yeah.
Kind of and you just need to get some young guys. You need to get some of the young guys that figure it out.
I'm going to go Phillies as well. I'll go Phillies. And then I am going to go with the Padres and the Reds. Changing it up a little bit.
Okay.
Changing it up a little bit. So I know I went back and forth between the Diamondbacks and the Padres. I really did. But I'm just like, you know what? You got Soto off the Padres. Maybe you're kind of moving on from that stuff. Maybe they actually are one of those teams that just get a little bit better. Maybe just a skosh better. So Padres. I'm going to go gets the last one. I think the Reds are going to be sneaky good this year too. So on that, then we're doing World Series, right?
Yep.
So what do you got for your World Series pick?
I got Braves over Astros.
You know the Dodgers in there?
Nope.
Ooh. So it's not on your prop bet. With that scenario, Dave Roberts get fired then?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too. This Dodgers have to win this year.
And that's it. Like
I don't even think it's just get there. I think you got to win.
I agree.
Which, as a manager, or coach, or whatever, when you have a team like that, yeah, you got a great lineup and you got immense talent all over. But that almost puts more pressure on you that you better win.
Right.
The front office is giving you all these guys, these players. But if you can't win with it, they're going to find somebody who they think will win with it at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm going to go Dodgers. Dodgers, Baltimore. And Dodgers win. Change it up a little bit. So, and I think it might be a one and done for Baltimore. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I just don't see Corbin being back there.
Right.
But, yeah, we'll go Dodgers and Baltimore World Series. Shake it up a little bit. All right, so to the Brewers then. Brewers predictions, because you've got a ton of prop bets.
Prop bets and just general questions, too.
Yep. So, record for the Brewers, Brandon. You have them in the postseason. I don't. So, what record do you think they'll have?
I think they go 86 and 76.
Okay.
So, 10 games over 500.
86 and 76. I am going to go... I actually had 77 wins. So, kind of the opposite of you.
So, you're kind of right at that the Vegas line.
Yeah, am I?
Well, I thought the Vegas line. Well, I think the Vegas line was either 78.5 or 79. I actually think it was 78.5.
Okay, so
you're right there.
I'm going 77 wins.
Okay.
Around there. There's so much with. Well, we'll get into it after we do these picks here. Top pitcher. Now, when you say this, wins for most.
Like
wins,
I don't know. Like this one, I just felt like at the end of the year, if someone asked who was the best pitcher, like I don't know if they necessarily had a.
It could be a bullpen.
It could.
Yeah.
It could. But I went Freddie Peralta. Like it's got to be. Like if it's not. I don't know, maybe things went wrong, but like also maybe things went right. Mm-hmm. But I just think he's got to be that top guy. And this is especially with Devin Williams being out the first few months. Like, right.
So if Devin Williams was healthy, would Devin Williams be on there for you?
It could. Very well could be, but I'm going to go Freddie Peralta.
I think at this point I'm going Freddie Peralta too. Can I add one more on here? Or maybe this is part of your breakout player, but give me a wild card pitcher that you think maybe could make some noise. I'll tell you the two names that came to my mind: DL Hall or Uribe.
Yeah,
those two.
To me, guys. I mean, I think DL Hall's a really good pick with that. A guy that I don't know. I don't think he's going to start the year with the Brewers, but if he figures it out, I think would be just an absolute godsend as far as helping that rotation there in Ashby. Mm-hmm. He needs to be healthy.
Yeah.
And I think with the way it's going to start, they don't have to rush it in there right away. They can give him some time at AAA.
Yep.
But he's someone that, man, if it's working for him, he can be as good as anyone on that staff. just because of his stuff. It's just, I think it's going to take some time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Top hitter.
And same thing here. I mean, who do you consider to be, just at the end of the year, like, who was their best hitter? Like, it doesn't have to be home runs or average or whatever. And I went William Contreras. I just think his bat, last year he didn't have quite the power he had in Atlanta, but he was a better hitter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Slug winner, right?
Yeah. He was just he was just so steady for them. Like, he didn't really have too much in the way of slumps. And he's hitting second. He probably hitting second for them again. So I think the offense kind of runs through him.
I also picked William Contreras. I'm glad you mentioned the second thing, though, where he's hitting second. If everything works out, though, do you think the better lineup is to have a guy like a Churio or Sal Frelick getting lead off, getting that speed on, then maybe a Yelich to move him around, Contreras to 3, Hoskins at 4, maybe?
Could. Usually when it comes to kind of roster or lineup construction, I'm more along the lines of, like, as long as you have your best hitters at the top.
Right.
But I can understand the idea of having speed there. And late in spring training, it looks like Garrett Mitchell's kind of been at the top of the lineup. So, I guess that kind of qualifies for that. But yeah, I don't mind moving Yelich back to 3 because I think you can just tell him, like, you can keep the same mindset you had when you were batting leadoff.
Mm-hmm. Or do you put him at 2?
They may try to mix up the left, the lefty-righty thing.
Okay.
So, but if you went, Mitchell or Frelick 1 and them 2, and then Contreras and Hoskins 3, 4, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of a horse apiece.
Right. This is a good one. Breakout player. And this is one I actually had to think about a little bit because, like, the definition of it, like, and for me, like, I went a little bit deep. Because this is a guy now that I think is going to make the team. And I've really liked what I've seen from him in spring training. That's Brian Hudson. Ooh. Big, tall, left-handed pitcher. They got him in the trade with the Dodgers. 6'8", 220. And despite being that big, he doesn't throw real hard. He's like lower 90s, but he's got some funk in his delivery. And that bullpen, I think there was a spot for like a second lefty after Hopi Milner. I think it's him. He can get lefties and righties out. Spring training numbers are spring training numbers, but he's in 10 innings, he's got he's struck out almost or more than 15 batters or 14 batters per 9 innings. So he's striking guys out. The walk rate is a little high, but not like unbelievable. You can't use it. Like, his advanced numbers are really good. Like, the Brewers are going to need to find a couple guys that just kind of, like, for 3 months you're like, wow, that guy's doing that good. This guy I think has some of the tools to where he could be that guy. You just got to throw strikes. You listen to Pat Murphy and some of his comments, 2 names that you might throw into this because he, listen to him talk about Joey Wiemer and Bryce Terang. Joey Wiemer, what do you say, hidden gem, I think, the other day. And, Bryce Terang, obviously we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, opening day starting second baseman and such. You could tell me if I'm a little cheesy, chalkish, or kind of with this one. But I went with D.L. Hall. You're right, because breakout, it's almost, do you go with a guy that's maybe been there for a couple of years and just kind of really explodes? Or is it like a comeback kind of sort of thing?
It's open to interpretation.
So I went with D.L. Hall. I know there's a lot of talk and excitement surrounding him, but we really don't know a whole lot about him yet.
Right.
Maybe I'm putting a lot of eggs in my basket on this kid, but everything you've heard about him or we've heard about him seems to be all in the positive. I think he might be a guy that maybe starts off a little slow. But at the end, you're kind of like, okay, yeah, we can see why. It.
Yeah. Yeah, like he's going to get the chance to start. Mm-hmm. In Baltimore, it was kind of a thing where, like, he was a starter, but it was kind of in and out, and he didn't perform well enough to keep him there. But he's somebody that I do believe is going to be a good pitcher for the Brewers. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of if he's a starter or a reliever.
Right.
And if he's going to get that opportunity to start, and he may be a bit like Freddie Peralta was earlier in his career, where he was a 5-inning pitcher. Just because it took him a little bit to kind of get the command down. And now Freddie pitches a little bit. He can pitch deeper into games. Mm-hmm. That might be who he is at the start. Mm-hmm. But that's still an effective pitcher, especially for this team.
Right. I actually have a couple for most disappointing. So one's a little bit different, but I'll let you go first.
Okay. Mine, I'm going to go Garrett Mitchell. I
have the same one.
Okay.
So I'll let you talk that, then I'll tell you my other weird one. So.
And for me, and again, this is one where you hope you're wrong.
Yeah.
I still worry about 2 things with Garrett Mitchell: the strikeouts and staying healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned he's hit at the top of the lineup. I mean, my personal preference, I would rather have Sal Frelick in that spot just because I think he's more of an on-base guy. He walks more. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's less swing and miss. Like, I just feel like he's a good fit as kind of that igniter at the top of the lineup. And look, that can change at any point, so I'm not going to get too wrapped up over if that happens. But the strikeouts, it's something I've talked about with him before, and
Yep.
just it's something that we saw with Keston here. Like, when you strike out at a high rate, the bar and the pressure that gets put on your level of contact is just so much bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, his and he hasn't played that much in the majors, but his strikeout rate is 38%. That's high. That's in that Keston here territory. Last year, people were really frustrated with Joey Wiemer's swing and miss. He was at 28%. So think about how much Wiemer struggled last year and know that Mitchell struck out 10% more than that.
Yeah. I just feel like the ceiling's higher for a guy like Wiemer than it is for Garrett Mitchell at this point. Where now you kind of look at, I mean, we know the depth at that outfield spot, right? So
Yes.
I just feel like the ceiling's a little bit higher for a guy like Wiemer than there is for Mitchell.
Yeah. And for what it's worth in spring training, Garrett Mitchell's strikeouts 31%. So it's down a little bit. Like, that's okay. Like, his numbers in spring training have actually been pretty good. Right now, he's hitting 326 on base percentage. He's taking some walks, so that's good. I would feel better about Mitchell if he did get that strikeout percentage down into like around 30. That's still high, but you can work with it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like once you hit like 35 and above, that's kind of like the point of no return. Like, man, I just don't see how you can be productive there. And look, Garrett Mitchell brings really good defense, so like he brings value that way. But I don't know. I just feel like as a former first round pick and stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
he just has there's different things he needs to accomplish to be successful relative to maybe some of the other young outfielders.
Mm-hmm. So my other disappointing one is because I think there's going to be it's more from a fan standpoint. I'm putting Jackson Churio on here because I feel like fans are going to have some fans are going to have such huge expectations that there's going to be some people saying at some point, halfway, at the end, wherever, that was kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
What's wrong with him? Too young and all that.
Right. He got the blah, 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 blah contract. Looks
Yep.
like he's 20 years old.
Right. So that's why I put him on here, just because I feel like you're going to hear some fans. He's probably not going to hit 300.
Right.
He's probably not going to be, an all-star. And I think for some fans, that's going to be disappointing right away.
Right.
So that was the other,
Okay. I'm glad. I like your rationale for that.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be fine. Like, there's a way I can see him being productive as a rookie. I could see him being a guy that, hits some home runs, but also steals a bunch of bases, even if the on-base percentage isn't kind of to my liking. But again, you just have to know, like, he's not a finished product.
Right. Yep.
Just because he's in the majors doesn't mean, like, this is who he's going to be. There's still a ton of growth.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Bold prediction.
This is actually the last one I figured out because I was trying to figure out, like, what constitutes a bold prediction. And the one I came to for this was, we know Freddie Peralta is going to be, if all things work out, going to be their best, the ace, this best,
Mm-hmm.
starting opening day. Like, what's an avenue for if the Brewers are going to do what I think they could do, which is win 86 games and be that last wild card team. I'm going to say that, and it's not going to be the exact same, but by the end of this year, people will look at Jacob Junis as Yuli Chassin from 2018, as like just a steady dude. Like, he wasn't flashy, but like he logged a ton of significant innings as a starter for them. He was their best starter that year. I don't think he's going to need to be that this year, but I think there's comparisons there. Both were kind of journeymen a little bit. And actually, when I looked up Ulyss's numbers from 2018, like, they're really good. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he was 15-8. He pitched 192 innings. I don't think Junis is going to get close to that. I think he's going to be in that, like, lower, maybe mid-ish 100. So, like, 130, 140. But, he had an ERA of 3.5, and, like, his peripherals, his advanced numbers were a little worse than that. So maybe he got some help from the defense. But we know this defense will be good.
Mm-hmm.
But Jacob Junis is a guy that, a little bit similar in that he has one awesome pitch. His slider, a lot like Yuli Chassin, awesome. Like, it grades out in like the top echelon of sliders for major league pitchers. he's gonna be trying to like be a starter, but maybe with only like 2 pitches. Like he may be like sinker slider. May probably make sense some changeups in there, but for the most part, it's going to be, hey, you kind of know what's coming, but I'm going to execute it so well that you bust your bat or that you swing over it. I think by the end of the year, he is their second best pitcher.
Wow. Okay, that's a bold prediction.
I kind of like what I've heard from him out of spring training, and even though spring training numbers are always kind of. He's pitched 10 innings. It's kind of like the whole Brian Hudson thing, where it's like. Results matter, but it's more about just like kind of like the process and what you're seeing. And I like what I've seen and what I've heard about Jacob Junis.
My bold prediction: this Brewers team will finish top 3 in stolen bases as a team.
I like it.
Last year the Reds led it with 190. Then it was Diamondbacks with 166 and the Royals at 163.
That's a good. I really like that one.
Brewers finished 11th with 129. I feel like Pat Murphy is gonna. A little more old school with that speed with Jackson, Bryce Terang, Frelick, Mitchell, Weimer, Yelich on there. I think
if Tyler Black is up at some point, which I think he will.
Yep. I think you're going to see more stolen base attempts and more successful stolen bases with this team. And I debated whether to say number 1. I kind of copped out and said top 3. Top 3 major league.
That's fair. I really like that. And honestly, that's one of those I really hope happens. Because that plus, the rules designed to be more stolen base friendly. Like it does. I felt like last year maybe they left something on the table as far as like you could have been a little bit more aggressive, especially with the offense being so hit or miss as it was. Like that's to me, that's a way you can try to help your offense. And in spring training, they've been aggressive on the bases. So that's a good one.
Yep. All right. All stars.
I've got 2.
Ooh, I got 1.
I got Freddie Peralta and William Contreras.
Okay.
I said they were going to be the best hitter and pitcher. I think Freddie Peralta will have a little bit more of a spotlight on him this year with Burns and Woodruff not being in the rotation. And Contreras, I think he backs up last year, and I think now, because he was 2 years ago, but he was as a DH with the Braves. So I think now he's enough of a name, and that matters.
Yeah, it mattered. Pat Murphy said the other day he thinks he could be the best catcher in the National League.
Good. With what the improvements he's made defensively, I think he gets it.
Contreras was my pick for an All-Star. If Devin Williams was healthy in beginning of the season, I would have had him on here too.
Yep.
But he won't be. So yeah, I just went with 1, and that's Contreras for me. Yep. Freddie, to me, I think could be a good pitcher, but I just wonder, is it going to be one of those where the numbers may not look it, so people won't give him respect or credit, whatever you want to say. It might be like 14-8 or something like that, and maybe a 3-something ERA, but there's more to it. There's if you deep dive into it, it's like, actually, he was pretty darn good, sort of thing. What do we got? Home run. No, wait. Did I skip some?
You did, but that's fine. We can go back
skipped.
to it. We can go back to it.
Home run leader.
I want Willie Adames.
Okay.
The last few years he's been more of a slugger. I know, some people would say maybe to his detriment, but it came down to 2 people for me.
Yep.
And I just think Adames, we know he's going to be out there every day, barring an injury or something. I could see him being 28, 29 home runs again. Plus, look, he's in a free agency walk year. Players are motivated when they know if he, one more good year, he's making a ton of money somewhere.
Yep.
So I went Willie Adames.
Since you went there, I'll go with my next pick, and it might have been your second one, Rhys Hoskins.
Yeah, those were the 2 I was thinking.
Yeah, so we're on the same page there with our top 2.
My backup bold prediction, which I almost went with, was Christian Yelich has a 25-25 season.
Oh, gosh. That would be something.
It would. Yeah. The stolen bases, I think that's not too much of a surprise if he hits that. Yeah, because he would need to hit 6 more home runs than he did last year. But that was my backup, kind of maybe just a few more, because it's just a few more. And there's been stretches where he was kind of cold, so that was my backup.
All right, I like it. Stolen base leader.
I was Sal Frelick.
Okay.
I think he's going to be the one that plays the most.
Yeah.
And I just, good speed, he's a good base runner, this could be a very competitive category. But I figured Sal Frelick.
Yeah, I actually had Sal Frelick too. I was going back and forth between him and Bryce Terang. But for me, it's just I trust Sal Frelick to get on base more.
Yes, and that's a big part of this.
And I know Bryce Terang and Jackson Churio were listed as the dark horse candidates to lead the league in stolen bases, but I'm like, I get the Bryce Ramos, but I trust Frelick to get on base more at this point.
Frelick by far is the best on base skills, and you can't
Mhm.
steal second unless you get to first.
Right. Yeah. So I went with Frelick too. Jackson again. I don't know what to expect yet.
Right. I think he'll be fine, but
Mhm.
I like that you brought up the fact that there's going to be some people that just have these ridiculous sky high expectations.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So then we go down to second most innings pitched.
Because I figured like we both figured Freddie Peralta,
Mhm.
barring an injury, will lead the staff. So I'm like, okay, well, who logs the second most innings?
Yep.
So I thought this question was interesting. I went Colin Ray
That's where I went to.
because I think he's a guy that's going to be able to take the ball, and Jacob Junis, like he's a guy that like he could start, but he could also relieve, like,
Mhm.
and that's what Chassin did a little bit too. But I just think Colin Ray is going to be a guy that he gets the ball and he's going to go like 5, maybe 6-ish an
Mhm.
outing, and it may be days where it's like 5 innings, 5 runs.
Mhm.
But he's a guy that I think is just going to be, you always hear like almost like the back of the rotation kind of guy. Like you're looking for innings out of him. I think he's that guy.
Right. I went with the same one, Colin Ray. I mean, is it fair to say with Wade Miley, isn't he? Maybe we should have had one. Does Wade Miley pitch 100 innings?
Yeah. I think Wade Miley is in that like 110 to 130 inning sweet spot.
Yeah. And then he's already beginning the year on the injured list.
Right.
So he's out of there. Colin Ray, I can just see that guy that just eats a bunch of innings.
Yep.
Out there too.
And I'm not gonna say
that Joe Ross. I don't know how long.
Right, like he's got like an ERA of like in the lower 4s.
Mm-hmm.
He has some games where he pitches 7 innings, but he also has some games where he gets hit around because like he doesn't throw very hard. It's kind of the jack of all trade, master of none. I mean, he throws a ton of different pitches.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just think, I think we're kind of both on the same page with that. He is the guy that's like, we kind of need you to go a little bit longer today because we used the bullpen last night. He goes out there and goes 6 innings, gives up 4 runs,
Mm-hmm.
kind of a guy.
Yep.
And that's valuable, especially for this team.
Yep. Then we're at Frelick over under 99.5 games at third base.
I went under, but my thinking is if Garrett Mitchell is my disappointing guy, it's possible at some point Frelick maybe they have him back in the outfield because if one of those because they can.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of my thinking. I think Sal Frelick is up with the team all year.
Yep.
But maybe more of an issue arises in the outfield to where they move him there, and then at some point maybe Tyler Black takes over, or Andrew Monasterio, or whoever. Or there could always be an under the radar trade. But I don't think he reaches it, but I don't think it's really of his doing.
Yeah.
I think it's because of other circumstances that could develop.
I went under 2. I feel like it's in the 90s though. I don't think it's that far under.
Right. As long as like either the situation I said arises or he doesn't just an absolute butcher there,
right.
I think he gets that opportunity.
Yep. I feel like we're going to see Ortiz at some point, maybe even Black if he gets called up. I feel like he's going to get a lot of games, and then you got to factor in does he miss time with injury or anything like that too. So I think it's in the 90s, but
maybe as much as he likes to dive into walls, Pat Murphy keeps him at third to save him from himself.
Yeah. Cheerio over under batting 250.
I went under, but I think it's in the 240s.
I'm the same way, and that's where I go back to where I think people are going to be disappointed by that.
I think he's like 240-ish with an on base of like 290, which is still lower than I would like. But I also think that there's counting stats in there. He steals bases.
Mm-hmm.
I think he figures the defensive thing out.
Yep.
And I think he hit some home runs. And I think he does enough to where, while some people may say, "Oh, that's it," I think a lot of people okay, we can see it. Like it's not there yet, but you can see the flashes of it.
Yep. So I got him like in the 240s as well, and like I keep saying, I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed by that. But I think if you look at it and not box score scout, you're going to see some good things with them there. I like this last one though, and I think you and I are going to go a little bit different route.
I think we are because obviously our records were different. So yep.
Is Willie Adames the final one here? Is Willie Adames traded, and if so, where?
I went no because I had the Brewers obviously making the playoffs. So I think if they're in contention, obviously they're not going to deal, and they'll just take the comp pick at the end of the year, and assuming they can't figure something out for an extension, just kind of wish him well and say thank you.
Mm-hmm. I do have them trading him because I don't have the Brewers making the postseason, and I have him going to the Braves. Orlando Arcia, former Brewers shortstop, is over there. So I think, and Orlando Arcia is not bad or anything like that, but
you can do better.
Yeah. So I went with the Braves over there. Giants, I know it's interesting because in the offseason, the Dodgers were talked about, but you got Mookie Betts over there. I don't know if Gavin Lux is at second. They're going to run out of positions to move Mookie Betts around at some point. Marlins, maybe. Cleveland, I'm going with the Braves.
There's options.
Yeah.
If he's on the market, there will be options.
Yep. I'm going Braves. I think he gets traded, and I think you're going to see Ortiz take over at shortstop.
Very, very plausible.
So
I was kind of chuckling. You can obviously see that, but you might have. But at the thought of Orlando Arcia losing his job to Willie Adames again, potentially.
Yeah.
It's like, leave me alone.
And he won't be coming back in return for the
Brewers. No. And
so
if they trade him, it wouldn't be a real significant return, but it would be it's something the Brewers would have to balance. But if you're out of it, maybe you take the two prospects versus the qualifying offer, which again would could lead you to like a draft pick.
Yeah, and you maybe get like a AA.
Right. But that's something. Yeah, you're gonna have to keep an eye on.
Yep. So, all right, there you go.
These were good.
Baseball Brewers preview coming up. So, opening day technically already happened, sort of.
But Brewers opening day less than a week away. We will be at Hy-Vee.
Yep, exactly. So Hy-Vee, stop on by, starting at about 11:30.
Yeah.
Over there.
Games games at noon.
Noonish. Probably a little after.
Yeah, a little after, but noon.
Yep. Get there and get a seat right away. So, but that's going to do it. Hey, I want to remind you, too, we got swag. So we got Resonance Branding Company, the official swag sponsor of the show and the podcast. Just text the word swag to 715-830-1912, and then the link will be sent to you. Or just hit us up on Twitter and Facebook, and we'll send you the link over there, too, if that doesn't work. But shout out to Resonance for that. They got some Man Cave podcast swag up if you'd like to purchase them. But that's going to do it for this episode of the pod. Big thanks to Hy-Vee, Toyson Ford, our sponsors for the podcast. If you haven't done it yet, got a few seconds. If you could, give us a 5-star rating and a positive review like on Apple so others can find the podcast. Till next time, I'm Dan. That's Brandon over there, still smiling at something. We'll talk to you on the next episode of the Man Cave Podcast.